want to get this out while I have a chance. Lord has been highlighting timelines, okay? He is highlighting timelines, and he is highlighting how things are time sensitive, okay? There are things that he is doing in the earth right now, y'all. It's hitting, like, it's mind-blowing. Now, back on the 22nd of April, he took me to Genesis 6. It says, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled." Now we're going to go down to verse 8, and it says, "But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord." Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. But we're going to go over to verse 18 where he was talking to Noah. No, we're going to go back to verse 17, and it says, "I am going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you." All right. And then he took me over into chapter 7 where it says, "Then the Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation." Okay. It also, a little bit before that, was talking about you are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God commanded. Now, the food that God was talking about is the word, right? Your spiritual food, as well as stocking up, right? To help get them through this period where they were going to be closed up in this ark, transitioning into the new that God was bringing them into, right? The new beginning. He wanted them to, one, stay close to him, stay at his feet, because it was going to be rough on that ark. Like, by no means was it comfortable or cozy. Like, I'm pretty sure it was a very uncomfortable transition, right? So he wanted them to stay and have their word, right? Their spiritual food to keep them full and trusting and believing in God, and also physical food. That way they could sustain themselves along this journey. He highlighted the timeline in my study Bible. Okay, this is the NIV version, and this gives a whole account of the dates of the flood and how long it lasted. So it lasted an entire year, 365 days. So imagine being closed up in this vessel, right? This vessel, and having to stay in that, basically in the dark for an entire year, not knowing what's going on outside until the Lord gets you to where he's trying to go, right? Now, this is twofold. And I'm sorry if this ain't making a whole lot of sense, y'all. I'm trying to get it out before I get disturbed again. A lot of God's children right now are in a season of transition, right? A lot of us are in the dark. We don't quite know what God is doing, but we know he's doing something. There was a point in time, once the flood waters receded, Noah was able to open a window, basically, and look outside, right? Send a bird out to see what's what, basically. We're at that point. God has chosen certain ones of us who are considered his Noahs, right? They say in the end times it will be as the time of Noah, right? As in the times of Noah. He's just not going to bring another flood, but there's going to be great devastation that comes along the earth. And I told y'all, he told me on the 9th, I believe, of May, that he spoke condemned, right? He literally said to me condemned, and that he was going to begin exacting his justice and exacting his divine judgment, his punishment against the wicked of this earth, y'all. Now, let me tell y'all how good God is, because, and I recorded this video, I just haven't uploaded it yet, but just a few days ago, he brought me back to this, right? And apparently at the time, this was, again, on the 22nd of April. So literally a month ago from today, he had me write this Post-it note, right? Because he was, again, talking about the timeline of the flood. Now, I put this in here, and I said on the Post-it note, I wrote the day May 15th of 5785, which is the current Hebrew year that we're in. May 15th, okay, of 2025. God will cover us and provide protection and provision, a safe place to worship him. He will hide us, right? And then I said on May 8th, prep for judgment on day 5:15 through 5:17. In other words, May 15th through the 17th, because I wasn't exactly sure of the actual date, because when you look at the Hebrew calendar, the days are numbered differently than the actual Gregorian calendar that a lot of us follow. But from what I gathered, according to this timeline, it was going to start happening between May 15th and May 17th. So that's what I wrote on this post-it note. Y'all, and then I wrote another arrow down, and it says, dealing with the wicked and evil people he has condemned. Expect 1 year of God's judgment, and he will, at the same time that he's doing that judgment, he will keep his children covered. Okay? So, how did I get that date of the 15th? Well, according to here on this timeline, the rains began, okay, Genesis 7:11. 7:11 has been a time he's been showing me on the clock, okay, but in Genesis 7:11, that's where it talks about the rain started, right? That's when the rain started pouring down to initiate the sequence of the flood coming. So that was Noah's 600th year of life at that time. Remember, they used to live a long time back then. But it started in the second month on the 17th day. Now, if you look at the Hebrew calendar, the second month would be the month of Iyar. Iyar is the month we're currently in, right? It comes after Nisan. Nisan is the first month. Iyar is the second month. So technically April to May, and then May to June. So we are in that transition right now before it goes into June. We're still in the month of May, Iyar, right? And then it said on the 17th day. When I went back and checked, the 17th day occurs on the 15th of May. I just didn't know that at the time, but that's why I wrote 5:15 through 5:17, because I'm like, it's going to be within that time period, okay? I'm not going to get into the rest of the timeline because it's not quite time for that yet, but right now, I just want to let you know that God has been highlighting, and then I also wrote on little post-it notes here, that right now, since 2024, God has been doing kind of like a selection process, right? And he kept taking me back to Revelation, where I read how Jesus was addressing each of the 7 churches, right? Each of the 7 churches. And he was telling them, those who overcome this will be rewarded this, in so many words. And he did that 7 times. And I'll do a whole nother video on that later. But basically, that is referring to those of us right now who are walking with God, same as Noah, who are overcoming certain trials, certain tribulations, certain sins, right? Those of us who are overcoming lust, those of us who are overcoming greed, those of us who are overcoming wrath, things like that, like the 7 deadly sins. A lot of that is referred to in Revelation, okay? But he is rewarding his children and protecting them and providing coverage. Now, I said that was going to happen on the 15th, right? That was when this judgment was going to happen. Y'all, I put a word out. Lord had me put the word out about him speaking condemned, because he said that on the 9th, and he had me release the word on the 15th. At the time, I didn't even remember that I wrote this in my Bible, okay, on the sticky note. So that was God literally confirming that timeline. So what he wants y'all to know right now is that for those of us that are overcoming and walking with him the same way that Noah was, you are going to be one of those that are chosen and selected to be on this ark, right? You are going to be protected through this time of judgment that has commenced as of the 15th. So over this next year, you are going to be highly protected. Just still keep yourself prepared. Again, I hope this makes sense, y'all, but just the Lord wants like I told y'all in the last video, he wants you to prepare for the famine. He wants you to prepare yourself. And this is time sensitive. He is giving us access to insider information, right? That is the whole point of him activating his prophetic mouthpieces. If y'all have noticed, within this last year, since 2024, there have been a lot of people coming out of the woodworks. Like, I've noticed this especially on YouTube, of people who are small YouTubers like myself, people who have just come out of nowhere, literally, and just started professing the words of the Lord. Like, it was literally like an activation, okay? I can't tell you where it came from or why. All I can say is because we are in the end times, and the time of the Lord's return is upon us. That's all I can say, okay? He is activating his mouthpieces because he wants to get his people ready and prepared for what is coming in. And I told y'all, the return of the Messiah is closer than we think. He has been highlighting to me the year 2030 as the year that things are really going to start popping off and jumping off, right? He also took me to Matthew chapter 23, I believe, where Jesus was, basically talking to them about how the prophets of the Lord are going to be persecuted, right? Nobody's going to want to listen to what the prophets of the Lord are saying. But it is a time that really, that's the time when people really need to hear what is being spoken. Of course, Jesus also referred to false prophets coming out and false messiahs coming, so you have to know the difference. But again, ultimately, he just wants everyone to be prepared, okay? So again, he's activating his chosen mouthpieces, but he is also in the process of choosing his chosen people, those that he is going to load up in this next ark, those that he is going to be protecting and covering in this time of judgment. So you really, like I told y'all before, y'all really want to be on your P's and Q's, crossing your T's, dotting your I's. Like, nobody is saying be perfect, but by all means, whatever you need to give up, throw away, clean and cleanse within yourself, do so, right? Because the Lord is moving in the earth at this time, and he is preparing, clearing the way, preparing the way for the Lord's return, right? The Holy Spirit is trying to clear the way for the Lord's return, in so many words. And right now, he also gave me the word about, in Revelation, how the 144,000, right, the remnant, those who will be, a part of the rapture, those who are going to be raptured off, his chosen people, those who have overcome, those people will be given a white robe, right? God presented me, y'all, let me tell you how good God is, because after he gave me that back in March, I believe, talking about the 144,000 and how they will receive their white robe. I want to say beginning of April, end of March, beginning of April, literally, y'all forgive me, my daughter is right here playing with stuff. He literally presented a white robe to me by way of putting it on my daughter's bed. Okay, when I say he has been doing stuff, like, it was a random white robe. It was like a lace white robe, and it was laying on my daughter's bed. I don't know where it came from. My daughter don't know where it came from, and it doesn't belong to anybody in the household. So we were like, where did this random white robe come from? And Lord reminded me when I saw it, the verse that he had took me to in Revelation about the 144,000, right? So I was like, okay, so Lord's not playing, and he's for real, y'all. Like, he never that he wasn't for real, but it was like that's when it really started dawning on me that he is really getting things in motion. Okay, so a lot of you who he is preparing and speaking to, he is going to prep y'all, and he is going to be giving his children, he is going to be giving you your white robe, okay, in this season. He spoke to me the other day, and he was like, the selection process, essentially it is a selection process, and he is choosing his chosen ones, okay? He is choosing his vessels, right? Essentially, there is going to be a war against the enemy. There is going to be a war, Armageddon, all of that, right? He is choosing his chosen vessels, and when you receive your white robe, you will know that you have been chosen. And God is saying, like, you will know without a doubt. You will know without a doubt whether you have received your white robe or not. This could be literally, this could be metaphorically, but either way, there will be some type of reference to a white robe, and you will see it plainly and clearly, and you will know that it is of God. Okay? He is not having no time for confusion in this hour. Like, he is trying to null and void out the enemy's actions and attacks that he comes with confusion, y'all. You will know clearly it is a sign from the Lord that you are one of his chosen vessels. That is why he has been heavily talking about consecrating yourself, cleansing yourself, okay? Trying to remain as pure as possible. That way, Holy Spirit can really come within you and really use you in the way that needs to be used in this hour, in this time. He is not playing in this hour, y'all.
So, aside from that, he's also referring to, he really wants to heavily highlight the transition, right? He said the end times will be in the times as of Noah. So, and I hope I'm saying that right, y'all. I'll put the verse up on the screen, but he really keeps highlighting Noah's Ark, right? The Ark, essentially, that was an Exodus, right? It was an Exodus. It was him being freed and pulled and gathered, him and his family, up out of that land of evil and wickedness. That was him essentially freeing Noah and his family and delivering them into their promised land. But he really wants to highlight the ark as the vessel, and he is also making that comparison to us, his chosen, as the chosen vessels, right? Because ultimately, when you give your life over to God and you consecrate yourself, you are dedicating your vessel to be used by God as He sees fit. And in this hour, he is saying, like, since 2024, the selection process has commenced. It's been underway. A lot of his vessels have already been chosen, but there are still a few more that he needs to possess himself, right? And he revealed to me 914 today. 914 literally means to divide, to separate, to set apart. Okay. And then he also mentioned a number to me the other day, which I can't remember, and I'm gonna put it on the screen when I go back to my notes. I'll edit this video and put it in. But it means befitting of a king, right? Royalty, to be worthy, in a sense, befitting of a king. So he is finding his chosen people, the same as Noah, righteous in his eyes and blameless, worthy of this royal position, being appointed in this way, right? Being anointed in this season, being appointed in a time such as this. He has found you worthy and blameless in his eyes. Okay, you are righteous. You have stuck to the path of righteousness. Okay, so, and that's not to say that anyone who isn't, staying on the Lord's path or in the Lord's will, that's not to say that you will not be chosen. But that is saying, like he said, there still are a few more vessels that need to be possessed for this time that's coming up. So there is still time, right, to be selected, to still receive your white robe, in essence. Now, what's also funny is that I keep asking my mom, like, do we have a vortex or something? Do we have a portal open in this house? Because we keep finding random clothes just out the blue. Like, my stepfather will come and have women's clothing, and he'll be like, does this belong? He'll ask me, like, Misha, does this belong to you? And I'll be like, no, I've never seen that before in my life. He'll be like, well, does it belong to Kalia, who's my oldest daughter? And he'll tell him, like, no, it doesn't belong to me or my daughter. And then he'll ask my mother, and my mother's like, no, it doesn't belong to her. He'll ask his mother, my grandmother, essentially, and she'll be like, no, it don't belong to her either. So we keep finding all these random clothes, and it's been happening now for the last few months, not knowing who these random clothes belong to or where they're even coming from, right? But I had the revelation today where God was like, the rapture. Like, in essence, when we think of the rapture, they always depict it as a time where people are just here one minute and then they're gone the next, and all you see left behind is their clothing, right? Everywhere, just random pieces of clothes left in certain spots. So I feel like this is the Lord literally trying to highlight that time is coming. It is near, y'all. And that is why there is this sudden activation. There is this sense of urgency, right? And he keeps highlighting time sensitive in a timeline. Y'all, like, it is closer than we think. And like I said, he keeps highlighting 2030, which just being like a significant time where things are really about to start popping off and kicking off. I'm not going to say that is when the rapture will commence or when it will happen, because that information hasn't been given to me. But no matter how I do the math where it talks about the second coming of the Messiah, literally from the time where Jesus was crucified to the 2,000-year prophecy, it always aligns with 2030, y'all.